You guys look at our success with Unicycle Pizza Time in Japan and are like, oh, I want it as well, but how do I do that? And to be honest, I have no idea. But I'm here with someone who does have a pretty good idea, I would guess, of, hey, how does it work? Marketing your game to Japan, what are some things you should consider? I'm here with Justin at the Graph booth. Can you give a very quick intro of like what does Graph do in general?
Hey, so I'm Justin. I'm an international account manager at Graph. You can see behind us. Graph is the newest branch of active gaming media. And what we do is marketing, PR, getting games from around the world and introducing them to an Asian market, whether it's in Japan, China, Korea. We just want to find good games from around the world and get them noticed here. And of course, we also do event representation.
Yeah, so you're here showcasing with a bunch of like indie games that are like, hey guys, please help us with like getting into the Asian market then, I guess. What are some, because we made our own game recently, Unicycle Pizza Time, and it like kind of blew up in Japan. It's still small scale compared to some of the games here, of course. But we just sent like emails to influencers and we got lucky with some VTubers picking it up. What are some like big differences maybe that you see with like Western marketing in general? Because most of our audience is Western as well. And then actually translating that to, hey, I want to market to Japan, it's completely different. First of all, language is a big thing, I guess. And then what are some other like considerations to keep in mind there?
Yeah, I mean, definitely, I think like getting your game localized is a huge thing, right? I feel like it's basically mandatory if you want to find any kind of success here. So you want to have your game, fully localized into Japanese or whatever target language it is. And like I know there's a lot of freelance localizers and translators these days, and a lot of them do a very excellent job. But the thing that you're going to be getting with getting your game localized by, let's say, AGM, Active Gaming Media, is that guarantee that the final product, the final localization is going to be flawless, and it's going to be very natural sounding, and it's going to carry any type of nuance that you had in the original language, and of course the store page as well, whether it's on Steam, PlayStation, or any other storefront, making sure that the talking points and the things that are interesting about your game are properly translated there. That's basically a must before you get into releasing your game here.
Yeah, we even made a video with AGM before you can find over there normally. There should be a little card that pops up. Outside of localization, are there because we're here at Tokyo Game Show, of course we have events like PAX in the US and we have Gamescom in Europe. Are there differences as well? And like, for example, I feel like there's some differences between these events. Is this still a very big way to market your game? Because it's kind of losing a bit of its flair, at least in the US especially, where like the impact is not really there always. Is it more of a thing still with Japan, or what are some of like the different like marketing channels that are still being used here to this day?
Yeah, definitely, as things are, basically everything that can be done online these days, it's like people kind of question whether these types of events still have a place, and I think they definitely do. Outside of getting your game in front of an audience, it's just important to like network with other developers, other publishers, other people in the industry here. People are all centralized in this one location, and you can like very easily meet each other. But honestly, like it's also very like accidental, like surprise meetings that you can have. And you kind of, I would say it's almost like a guarantee that those things are going to happen at an event like this. You're going to eventually run into someone who you didn't expect to meet and have like a really good encounter. But also like these events, like it's like another way to market your game. Like if your game is going to be shown at TGS or another Asian event, and that gives gaming media and influencers like something to focus on, something to write about. So I think it still has value for sure. Yeah.
Now, one thing with marketing as well, what we often say on our YouTube videos is like, hey, marketing starts with the game. I kind of want to get your thought of that, of like, hey, what are the visuals, what is the plot, what is the theme, whatever. You have a whole variety of games here I saw at the Graph booth. Is that something where you are like, hey, there are certain games that are like unmarketable, or is it like we at Graph here, we can market anything? Are there like things you look for of like, hey, these are actually better games for us to like work together with, we can give you better results if you have like certain styles of games? Because I went to like an event before, like yesterday, of like some indie meetup, and everyone there was making 2D pixel platformers, which is in the West a genre that's like notoriously hard to market. Is there a difference then also maybe in Japan with that? Like the genre is more demand still?
Yeah, it definitely, there's a lot of similarities between Western markets, but I guess like very upfront and obvious is like the general Japanese gaming audience, I feel like will be more receptive to very colorful games, very bright games. If it's going to be like a game with like a cartoon aesthetic, they're going to be much more receptive to something with an anime art style, as opposed to something that's more like like stylized or like Western stylized. That's not to say that those games can't succeed there, but it's going to be just like another step that it needs to overcome. And like you said, like games selling themselves, that really does hold true, I think. Like, you know, if your game has a story or a hook or a visual style that can like immediately grab people's attention within like the first 30 seconds, the first minute, you know, that's going to do a lot of the heavy lifting. And we try to be very upfront with like developers that we talk to. If we feel that, you know, certain aspects of their game are going to have trouble connecting with an Asian audience, whether it's the art style or gameplay or just, you know, overall themes of the game, you know, we're not going to like brush those issues aside and like just try to sign a deal with them. We're going to be very upfront with those people and let them know, give them as much information as possible.
So we just heard Justin talk about it. Now I want to get a bit more of a developer's approach as well. So I'm here with the developer of Endless Monday, who is part of the Graph booth as well. What was kind of your idea of why do you want to be here at TGS? What made you go like, hey, I think this is going to be worth it. This is why I want to expand to Japan, basically.
So the game was already pretty popular in Japan, but so I'm making a new content update. So AGM actually reached out to me. They were like, oh, do you want to show your game at the TGS? And I was like, oh, absolutely. Showing at TGS is like a dream of mine. So I was like, absolutely, just tell me what to do. And they're like, okay, we'll just take care of everything. So I was like, all right.
Yeah, because there was a party yesterday where I met you originally, and you did not have to bother with anything, right? You just walked up here today, and you sent them a build, I guess, or something. Did you have to? How much did you do for them, or like the description, everything like that? Basically, all of the little flyers and stickers. Did they do all of that for you?
Basically, they just told me what they needed. I made a build for them. I made a specific TGS demo build, and I drew all the art and assets and stuff like that. But I just sent it to them, and they made all the swag I'm giving out today. They made those. It was super easy. All I had to do was just send them a bunch of stuff and show up.
All right, perfect. Thank you. That was it. A little bit. How is that flow of, okay, you're watching this right now and you're like, hey, I love anime. My game is like anime or so, whatever. I want to go to Japan and like market my game there. How does the process work working with Graph? Because we've made a similar video about like AGM and the localization there. Is it just, hey, they send you an email or whatever, and then you go on a call, and if they have a pulse and money, you like sign a deal with them? Or how does it work? Is there like more of a validation stage? Are you more picky with the games that you would take?
Yeah, I mean, so like I said, we'll take a look at the game, right? You know, if you contact us, and we'll be very upfront with you whether we think something is doable with it. And it's not just the content of the game, but also like the developer schedule, like when they're looking to release. You know, if the projected release date is very far away, that's not a problem for us as well. Like, we're very flexible in regards to that. But you know, if the release date is like very, very soon, and that kind of like gives limitations on what is possible within the time frame, then we'll be very upfront about that as well, like what we can realistically accomplish in that time frame. But you know, in terms of signing a deal with the game, it really doesn't matter whether the developer is like a solo developer or like a much more established, larger team. We're very flexible when it comes to budget and what we can offer indie developers. And also we just want to help indie developers at the end of the day. Yeah. We're trying to find a deal that's going to work for them, no matter what, yeah. Yeah,
maybe a question, because of course you have the booth here. You've talked about localization with Active Gaming Media. What are some other things like marketing that you do, like the services that you offer? Is it things like, for example, like platforms, like for example, Line is big here where nobody on the West basically knows how to use Line. Like, are there different kinds of marketing channels here as well that maybe you guys have the insights to, that you guys are like, hey, we can add this to our offer that most regular developers don't know? Like for example, when we work with VTubers, there were so many closed doors because of agencies, for example. Is it something that you also have more of an in with media as well with Automaton, which we also made a video about over there? How does that work in total?
Yeah, definitely. Like, I think a lot of the marketing beats, especially when it comes to indie games, are going to be similar. You know, it's like, you know, advertising, like traditional advertising, whether it's like banner ads or on websites or videos, it can only do so much, and also it's quite expensive, especially these days with the amount of indie games that are being released. And, you know, even you can make an excellent game, and that does not guarantee that your game will find an audience. These days, like influencers, streamers, they're more important than ever, I think. Like, if there's like a very big streamer that, you know, let's say they focus on a certain genre of game, and their audience trusts them with their opinion and knowledge and enjoys their content, that's going to be such a big step up if you can get your game in their hands. And, you know, there are many influencers that we work with who are not part of any agencies, and, you know, we have a very long trusting relationship with them, so it's not a problem for us to contact them and get them to play your game. But yes, like you mentioned, there's a lot of influencers who are part of agencies, And we do have avenues through that. We do have a lot of connections at those agencies, so reaching out in that way is not a problem for us as well.
And then one final question, I don't think we asked this, it's not just Japan that you focus on, right? It's Asia in general, like some Asia-specific maybe tips. So like, okay, Japan is like the right color for art style. Are there other things more for if you want to go for like China, Korea, maybe Southeast Asia as well, that you have like some final tips for that as well? Because of course, the more that the developer does before they come to you, like the better of a match it's going to be, and like the easier it's going to be for both of you to have a win.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, not just Japan, China and Korea, those three countries are the primary ones that we focus on, but we can also do outside of that as well. And same thing with Japan, getting your game localized into Korean, getting it localized into Chinese is a huge thing. For Korea, it's not a problem for us to get games in front of media and influencers there as well. For China, it's a little bit of a bigger task, just because the prices that the influencers command there is quite high. So it's definitely still doable, but it might require a bigger budget. And another thing is it's like if you're releasing on console, let's say on PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5.
The validation and things.
Yeah, it's like getting your game validated. It's a very lengthy process, and it also can be quite expensive. But a lot of Chinese gamers are, obviously they're very used to this. So if there's a game that a PlayStation player wants to play in China, they will find a way to play it by getting it on a different storefront. So, the Chinese gaming media, they know this, and they write about games and market games with that in mind. So it's definitely still doable.
Yeah, definitely. That was the case for us as well. Like we have I think 5% of our audience is China based. We did not really do anything for the Steam China version. It's just Steam Global, and people always find a way. Where there's a will, there's a way. And yeah. So if you want to market your game, just make a good game to begin with, and just do good marketing, or find some better ways to do marketing. What do I know? You're the expert here. Thank you very much for the time, Justin, and the good tips. So thank you very much, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.